What's going on, you guys? Kenny here, also known as Solidfan85. Welcome to a late night vlog. There's no camera, just a picture you're seeing in front of you, as well as my social media information. This will be a rather extended vlog. I wanted to share something with you guys. It's a bit of a long, detailed report. You know, I consider myself an intelligent man, but I've always had a serious interest and everything supernatural, the occult, so on and so forth. But I've never delved in it. I've never dove into it, and tried to put it into practice. But I've always tried to understand if there's a connection between science and the supernatural. And I think there is. The reason being is because I've always had this general understanding, and I'm not an expert. This is probably well understood out in a certain kind of specialized field, but I've always thought to myself there's a connection between electronic voice phenomenon around seeing things, around hearing things, feeling touches. It's all based on some sort of electrical impulse. There's some sort of electric connection when it comes to it. And that's because, we as human beings, is that our body and our brain, there are electrical bursts that are keeping us going. There's an electromagnetic field around the planet. Electricity is a part of everything. Again, from my general understanding. So what's to say that these fields and these impulses can't connect us to what we can't see? Or what is maybe a part of another vibration into another universe? Maybe that is our direct connection when it comes to such things. There was an article I came across called Electrical Ghost by Vincent H. Gaddis. I'll link it down below. But let me go and share it with you guys. You can read along with me if you want to. A very basic video. It may get a little boring, but I wanted to put this up on my channel because this is always, for the last 20 years easily, since I was 14 to 15 years old, and I had an encounter as a child with voices, not in my head, but external voices. My mother was there to witness it. My mother's a Christian woman. She ended up blessing the house, and the voices dissipated, but they kept me awake for a few nights. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember being frightened. And we didn't have any kind of recording device back then. We didn't have phones back then. That was, early 90s. But it stuck with me, and my mother told me about it from time to time. So that stuck with me, and I'm fairly sure I've had run-ins with ancient ancestors that have guided me through life at some point. I'm a firm believer in that as well. But let's go ahead and jump into this article. That's just a little bit of personal background. And we'll see what we can find. We consider ourselves very fortunate in being able to present the following remarkable article by Mr. Vincent H. Gaddis, a well-known writer and experienced investigator of psychic problems. We omit our customary editorial page to make room for this highly important material. Now, before I go on, a quick note. As far as I can tell, this is an actual occurrence. I could be wrong, but even if it's not, it's still, to me, in my personal opinion, a good explanation of what I've always felt to be a connection. So carrying on. Phantom forms produced by electricity in magnetic fields. This amazing phenomenon has been witnessed in several large electrical plants. The General Electric Company's research laboratory at Schenectady, New York, and an industrial research laboratory at Freiburg, Germany, have issued reports on this strange occurrence. In 1930, Chief Engineer Eastman of the Rhodes Electrical Society in London was working on some high-tension wires in a dark room when he saw a luminous blue sphere form about a revolving dynamo. In the center of the sphere, a woman's hand suddenly appeared. Eastman asked his assistant, a Mr. Woodoo, if he could see it, and he replied that he could. Both men watched the phenomenon, and they were able to ascertain every detail of the conditions causing it. Sorry for the jumps in the audio. My voice is going in and out. I'm having to clear my throat constantly. The two men spent 4 days trying to produce the occurrence again, and when they succeeded, a human head instead of a hand appeared. Photographs were taken, and they were published in several European journals in the summer of 1930. A follow-up to the Rhodes observation was an article printed in the Revue Spirite, Paris, written by M. Henry Azam. M. Azam has obtained his material from an experimenter who desired to remain unknown except to the publication's editors. This unknown student was quoted as follows: "In the pursuit of my specialized work in the occult and psychic fields, I long desired to find out whether it's possible to reconstitute the astral form by means of sound vibrations. It was my belief that mediumistic phenomenon, when they are serious in character, are exclusively the result of setting in action some force for which the medium is the condenser, or the filter. It was my purpose, therefore, to reconstitute a sphere of synchronous vibrations analogous to those which emanate from the human entity, but to do so without the intervention of any medium. The following methods were used by the experimenter. 2 machines of static electricity were arranged so that the plates would turn in opposite directions. The positions and distance between the plates were so arranged as to be susceptible to infinite variation. As a result, there was a variable and sensitive magnetic field formed. A membrane covered with lycopodium powder was placed at the variable point so that it vibrated according to the electrical wave lengths employed. The vibrations were intensified by adding factors of light, sound, and perfumes. A magical lantern was directed upon the variable point for light effects. An organ was used for sound effects. Under these conditions, on several different occasions, I was able to obtain the formation of human and animal forms, which appear in the magnetic field. At first they were only partial, but twice I succeeded in obtaining complete forms. They were always presented themselves in the sensitive field and near the variable point. 3 photographic negatives, exceedingly clear and sharply defined, were obtained of these vibrational forms. The conclusions of the experimenter are that he was able to obtain responding vibrations of the astral or psychic world, that the results cannot be ascribed to imagination or hallucination, that the forms which appear are not spirits, but empty and discarded etheric and astral bodies or shells. That is therefore possible to obtain psychic phenomena without the aid of human mediums." Basically, these people that claim to be psychic, breaking away from the article for a minute, were able to do that with electricity. The importance of these observations is obvious. Once again, we have apparently found a realm in which the physical and astral worlds merge. Additional research in this domain of phenomena would be physical and would not require the services of a medium. Nevertheless, the ability to form a window or vortex between true vibratory planes might result. First of all, what are these forms? Are they abandoned etheric bodies or disintegrating thought forms? Etheric bodies which are regarded as links between the physical and astral bodies are abandoned soon after physical death? According to the theory, and they slowly disintegrate in a vibratory plane known as the astral cemetery, which lies very close to the vibratory limits of our visible physical plane, or limbo. I think some cultures will refer to it as limbo. It's also supposed that these empty etheric bodies remain close to the decaying physical bodies until they are dissolved into their original basic elements. Being held nearby by various subtle affinities, these etheric shells are said to be the cause of reported graveyard phantoms. So, breaking away from the article, when a person recently passes away, there have been many reports throughout the years of people hearing voices, people seeing their passed away friend or family member or spouse. And so that does make sense, because at the point of their death, obviously their ethereal form or their electrical form would be the strongest, and it dissipates over time. Now, there are points in our electromagnetic field here around the Earth to where certain points are really strong with electrical energy, and they may be able to sap off of that, or they may be feeding off maybe a nearby conductor or nearby humans in crowded places because we have electrical signals in our body. Again, really far out there, but it makes sense to me. basically, if this is true, let me get caught up here. Yeah. If this is true, the best place to set up an experimental electrical magnetic field would be in a cemetery vault or in a building close to a cemetery. This is an experiment the writer plans to make when conditions permit. Positive results would indicate that these forms, if successfully obtained, are actually etheric bodies abandoned by progressing astral bodies, or the spirit, if you're religious. One more thought should be presented. The possibility that natural electrical phenomena may provide conditions for psychic phenomena should not be overlooked. There are many reports of phantoms observed during electrical storms. Apparent poltergeists are often displayed during intense electrical and atmospheric stress, while lightning often exhibits the directions and actions of an apparent intelligence. For example, the late Charles F. Tallman, government meteorologist, in an article in Reader's Digest, June 1935, tells of a ball of lightning entering an open window, traveling about the room as if exploring it, then finally departing by the window it has entered. More amazing cases will be found in Flammarion's work, The Pranks of Lightning. In all of these occurrences, tricks of a poltergeist nature were performed, under conditions indicating the possibility of a directing intelligence. The writer feels certain that this phenomenon of electrical ghosts we may have a key that will unlock many mysteries in the psychic world. They go on here for an ending to the article, but again, it's just kind of directing my point that we are receiving signals in our brains all the time. Our brain works on multiple levels, and some are more open, some are less open, some are more closed-minded, some are more open-minded. It's it's who we are. It's a part of our nature. As our brain develops, physical factors indicate how our brain will evolve due to genetics, due to how you work it, because the brain is a muscle for all intents and purposes. And if you're constantly curious, if you have a very curious nature, you are gifted with the gift of genetics as well as an early childhood of being open and free and being able to explore, not being really so strict. Again, and my theory of if you have a very religious family that limits your knowledge or partaking in curiosity, it tends to limit your curiosity as an adult, thereby kind of not working your muscle as much as somebody that is permitted to do so as a child. But I could be wrong on that. We invite our readers to consider, in connection with facts given in the last two paragraphs of Mr. Gaddis's article, a communication from Dr. Ryan on another page of this bulletin, which again linked below. And Mr. Gaddis adds in a personal letter to the editor that the relationship between storms and psychic observations is a vast field in itself. A neighbor of mine recently deceased once told me of seeing a number of phantoms during an electrical storm when he was caught in a local cemetery. They were simply white human-like forms hovering above the graves, glimpsed during flashes of lightning. We also refer the reader to a quotation by R.R. in a previous issue of an Occult Digest account of battlefield apparitions of an etheric type. No confident student will assume for a moment that the multiform phenomena of mediumship are explained, quote-unquote, by the results detailed by Mr. Gaddis. Nevertheless, a way may be here opening for a better understanding of some of them, since it is known that etheric bodies and shells sometimes appear in seance rooms and complicate the problems. The existence of these entities, if one may call them such, has always been affirmed by psychics and occultists. But if this fact can be verified, or strongly supported by scientific experiment, without recourse to mediumship or clairvoyant perception, a notable step will have been achieved. The effect, of course, is a substantiate occult and spiritistic teachings, and not to negate or supplement them in any way. There are many instances of such data, well verified, but almost unknown even to professional students, and it's the chief concern of the round robin to discern them, preserve them, and make them available. We bespeak the active cooperation of all readers who understand the importance of such knowledge, which must eventually reconstruct the whole of our basic thinking. We deplore obscurantism, with which the illumist must contend with every side, the ignorance of the ignorant and the learned alike, the smugness and intolerance of orthodox religionism, and we recognize as fact, and no mere figment of imagination, the impact of hostile forces from the unseen, or the unknown, the stuff we can't perceive, see, hear, with our naked eye. We live in a time of great danger, yet there is a new old knowledge stirring in the world which may yet forestall disaster. What little you and I can do may yet add up to some notable and some significant sum. So, obviously, here at the end, they're getting a little, I'm honestly not sure how to put it, but maybe a little alarmist at points. But again, the article, whether it's false or not, it's hard to say. They do have references. Again, there's a link below. But it's something that's always astounded me. And if we as humans can evolve from a single cell organism via biology and evolution, what's to say that there are unseen forces around us every day that we interact with, and we may not even know it? A graceful touch there, our hair raises up on the back of our neck, we hear something, a smell sets off a memory or an unknown, and our body interacts with these forces. And we hear, we see, we smell, we touch, we have, memory episodes. So what's to stop unseen forces from interacting with us? And again, the best way, in my opinion, would be through electrical impulse, because we are all connected in a lot of ways by electricity. Our planet, us as human beings, animals, plants, as far as my understanding of, plants go, there may be some electrical impulse there. I could be wrong. But we're all a network, so why, will we not be able to see the things that are outside of our range? I mean, we can't see in the dark because of absence of light. So maybe there's an absence of something that helps us not see what's around us every day. Weird theory, but there it is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think if you've made it this far in the video, 18 minutes in, nearly. And I hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is just a little peek into my own brain, how I think about things. Welcome to my channel. And thanks for watching. Remember, you're awesome. Never let the world tell you otherwise. See you.